Hi again, it's Donna, your homegrown gourmet, part of the Gourmet or Good Enough team with my sister Diane. It's early July, so I went out to the garden and did my final harvest of rhubarb. The rhubarb will continue to grow all summer long, but I prefer not to harvest it after early July because it would weaken the yield for next year's crop. I'm going to cut off all the leaves because remember, the leaves are poisonous. We don't want to keep the leaves. And I'm going to challenge myself today to get through all of this rhubarb. I have a couple ideas of what I want to do. I think I'm going to make some little mini pies that I can put in the freezer for the winter time. I'm just going to be challenged today to get through this stuff, okay? So let me get this cleaned up and then we'll get started. I've removed all the leaves and cleaned my rhubarb, and now I'm going to show you how to trim it. And not all rhubarb is red. There are some green varieties as well, and either one works. They're both really nice and tart. So I'm just going to cut these in small bite-sized pieces. Once in a while I'll get a section that looks like almost a piece of celery, and I just like to get that string out of there. Here's the difference between a nice young tender piece of rhubarb and then what happens towards the middle of summer is it gets really woody and stemmy, and then you have a lot of fiber in there. And that's the other reason why we don't want to harvest in the middle of summer, because you end up with that. You got a lot of woody, fibrous pieces that not only take a long time to cook, just hard to work with. Another reason why you want to harvest early. So let me get this trimmed up and chopped up, and then we'll go on to the next step. I've cleaned all my rhubarb. I measured about 3 generous cups because I'm going to mix it to make 3 little mini pies. I want to add some sugar to that. 1/3 of a cup of sugar. And I'm going to mix that up. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. It'll help bring out the flavor. And then finally I'll do some lemon juice. I'm going to mix this up and let it sit for a few minutes and work on my crumb topping. Just take 1.5 cups of flour. I have 3/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/3 of a cup of regular sugar. I'm using about a teaspoon of salt. I'll mix that a little bit. And to make it extra special, I have 8 to 10 ginger snaps. I'm just going to crush it. Okay. And I think that's going to give a really great flavor to my crumb topping. Okay, let's put that in there. Mix that around a little bit. So we have flour, sugar, and brown sugar, a little bit of salt, and then of course my crushed up ginger snaps. And then to that, I'm going to add just a tiny amount of cinnamon. And then I have 1.5 sticks or 6 ounces of butter. With our hands, we're gonna mix it until it's nice and crumbly. And just kind of get in there and play with it. Mix it all around. Well, this was a real challenge for my small motor skills, but I got through it. Now we'll assemble the pies. Earlier today, I assembled my mini pie crusts. I had some leftover pie dough in the freezer. I thawed it out, rolled it out, and we're good to go. So now our rhubarb has been sitting in the sugar, and it's a little soupy. You can see it's going to create a lot of juices when it cooks. So I want to thicken that a little bit, and that's why flour is very important. So I'm going to sprinkle some flour on there, coat it really well before we add it to our mini pies. You could use cornstarch if you want. Some people like to use tapioca or even potato starch, but this is just my go-to. And it's starting to coat really well, a little bit more. So I do not want these bubbling over and making a mess. Okay, so that's a good little mixture there. I think I like that. Now we're just gonna fill our pies. And I'm gonna fill it as much as I can between the three of them. I kind of measured about a cup of rhubarb for each pie. So let's see how well I did here. The fruit's going to shrink when it cooks. So you always want to overfill your pies. Okay, note to self, that was perfect. We are ready for our crumb topping. I'm just going to sprinkle that all around. Nice generous amount. I think I'll put it on my cookie sheet to pick up any crumbs that might fall. And I'll gently spread it around. Okay, remember there's a lot of butter in here. There's brown sugar, ginger snaps. It's gonna be so good. If there's any tartness at all to my rhubarb, if I didn't add enough sugar to my rhubarb, this is gonna take care of it. What I really like about these little mini pies that I make is that in the dead of winter, I can pull one of these out, I'll bake it off at like 400 degrees for about 35 to 40 minutes, and then just cut it in half, and it's 2 servings. It's perfect for my husband and me. I'm going to go ahead and place them in the freezer, let them get solid, then I'll wrap it in plastic wrap, and then double wrap in foil, and then I'll make sure I set it on my shelf upright so that nothing happens to it. I'll put instructions on the top and I'll be good to go. So I told you I was going to try to challenge myself today, and I still have almost 3 cups of rhubarb left over. Rather than just put it in the fridge and try to figure it out, I decided to make a little cobbler. I'm going to go ahead and butter my dish. We're going to bake this at 400 degrees for about 35 to maybe 45 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and just throw in my rhubarb. And then I'll just add some sugar. Might as well just mix it up in here, why not? So I'll just stir the sugar around, get it nice and coated. And I'm gonna go ahead and put in, like I normally would for a pie filling, I'm just gonna put in a flour, a little bit of cinnamon, so I think that's a nice flavor with rhubarb. It needs a little lemon. And then finally, I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle on that crumb topping that we made. I'm going to serve this with some vanilla ice cream. I think it's going to be delicious. In the oven, 400 degrees for about 35-40 minutes. And here is my finished rhubarb. I'm going to go ahead and try it with some vanilla ice cream. The rhubarb is fresh, tart. I can taste the butter and the brown sugar and a little bit of that ginger snap in the crumb topping. It's absolutely delicious. Thanks for watching. You can get the full recipe if you check the description below. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to that YouTube channel, Gourmet or Good Enough. Ciao. This is really
Yummy. Mm. Mm-hmm.